The horrific 2020 has finally come to a close, and it's definitely not a year that will be forgotten anytime soon. While I could go on and on about how awful it was, you've got to admit that in terms of video games, 2020 wasn't all that bad. Of course, there was all sorts of negative stuff like delays, cancellations, and failures that come with all years, but as a whole, there was some pretty good stuff there too. First of all, being at home for like 99% of the year gave me personally a lot more time to catch up on my backlog, so I completed more games than ever this year. It was also the first year I ventured out of the Nintendo consoles and got my first PS4, opening up tons of new possibilities for me. But enough about 2020, how about the future? 2021 does actually have a lot going for it, and especially as a huge Zelda fan, I have high hopes for this year. So today, let's reflect on 2020, take a look back at my garbage predictions for this year, and discuss some of my most anticipated games. As I mentioned, in my opinion, video games were honestly kinda a shining light in the entertainment industry in 2020. While movies and all sorts of live performances were crumbling, video games pushed on with their easy at-home accessibility. Not to say there wasn't setbacks. Big events like E3 were cancelled, games were delayed, some we probably never even heard about. We have yet to see the long-lasting impacts of 2020, but I doubt they'll be any good. Some of the more notable games this year include Animal Crossing, absolutely killing it for the Switch, and being one of the best quarantine games. That is, of course, until Among Us came around and infected the internet with its simple premise, but also as a fun way to connect with others. I think that no doubt the biggest disappointment of the year goes to Cyberpunk 2077, which at the point of its release, it was so hyped up I really wasn't expecting much good. This all goes without mentioning that both Xbox and PlayStation got entire new consoles, even though the Switch doesn't care and is still doing surprisingly phenomenal in the sales terms of things. For me, the only true 2020 game I played was The Last of Us Part 2, which is hard to talk about. I have big opinions on this game. In the beginning, it didn't deserve all the hate. The moment-to-moment gameplay was actually pretty fun, but humans were kinda put through hell with the controversial crunch time to produce it, and the story is questionable and slightly interesting at best, but most of all, it just doesn't even compare to the masterful original that is still my favorite game as of now. Well, I have now started Ghost of Tsushima and Final Fantasy VII. That doesn't count since it was in 2021 and I haven't finished them yet. But that about sums up the year. At the end of this video, I'll go over last year's predictions, so stay tuned for that. Now comes the exciting part. Between both Nintendo and PlayStation, there's a lot to look forward to this year, or at least hopefully look forward to, who knows what may happen. Starting off with my most anticipated event of the year, The Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary. There is so much potential with this, and I'm dying to see what happens. First and foremost, the most obvious is Breath of the Wild 2. I predicted this would come out last year, but no one really could have expected Age of Calamity to take its place. But this year, it's gonna happen, I'm telling you. If I had to guess, it will probably come out around the same time of Age of Calamity and take place as the dominant holiday title. Breath of the Wild 2 is my most anticipated game I know is in progress right now, so I'm just really hoping it comes out this year. Now, this was already kind of a no-brainer, but I think with the rest of the anniversary celebration, there's still a lot more potential. For example, the legacy content. Now, I have no idea what's going to happen here. Nintendo definitely has a lot of options. I would say the most likely would be a Mario 3D All-Stars style combination with Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker. This is pretty much completely based off of the reception of the games. Of course, any sort of legacy combination would have to include Ocarina of Time, and unless they're released separately, like Mario 3D World, I think Twilight Princess and Wind Waker would be the most likely. Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda, but honestly I just don't think it would be included as it's a lot less commonly known among the public. Skyward Sword I would really love to see a port of, and maybe as its own game, but I doubt they'd pack it in with two others. As I just mentioned, there's also the possibility I could be completely wrong, and they could do no legacy combination, and instead they could just do individual ports of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess with some extra content, though that might be difficult to come up with. Apart from just big games, I'm guessing there's going to be some small extra character DLC for Age of Calamity probably, and maybe some smaller, more gimmicky game like Mario 35, like Zelda 35 that kind of follows the same idea. With all this stuff, I really hope it isn't going to be taken away in a few months like the Mario stuff. So, as a Zelda fan, this could be a pretty amazing year. This is just game-wise anyways. Who knows how many smaller little toy things or such there will be. Usually I wouldn't be interested in that sort of stuff, but since it's Zelda, it could be pretty cool. Alongside all the Zelda stuff, as many have predicted, I believe another big thing for Nintendo this year would be some sort of hardware upgrade. The original Switch is fine, but it could definitely be improved, and honestly doesn't really compare to its competitors hardware-wise. Some sort of Switch Pro with enhanced graphics could easily be released alongside Breath of the Wild 2. Honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Now, these are a little more out there, but there is a few other things I'd like from Nintendo. First of all, a sequel to Odyssey. With a sequel to Breath of the Wild confirmed, I was almost guaranteeing there would be a sequel to Odyssey announced last year on Mario's anniversary, but there wasn't, and that was really odd to me. With the original being my favorite 3D Mario, I'm dying for any sort of new content. I mean, it doesn't even have to be Odyssey 2, honestly I'd be fine with any news on a new 3D Mario. Alas, with 3D World coming out, I sorta doubt it. Secondly, a new Mario Kart. I've expressed my sadness with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe before, so I won't go into that, but seriously, it's like the best selling game on Switch, and there's been no DLC or Mario Kart 9 yet. I've talked about my idea of a Mario Kart Ultimate that has a wide range of characters and tracks to use, and while unlikely, I'd still love that. Last of all, one thing we know we're getting this year is more Smash characters. Honestly, I haven't kept up a lot with character speculations and such after Steve just blew my mind, but I mean, I'm content with the roster right now, and there's no one in particular I'd say I'm dying to see in the game. I'm sure the characters who do make it in will be very unpredictable, so honestly there's not much point in me trying to predict anything, but if I had a choice, realistically, I'd suppose I'd want any Zelda character, someone from Undertale, I suppose not Sans now, and well, Alucard from Castlevania I guess. Obviously there's some people I'd like more, but the games they're in probably wouldn't cut it for a Nintendo game. And that's about it for Nintendo. I think there's a lot more solid games that could come out of Nintendo this year, but that's not to say PlayStation is doing bad. This could be the year I get a PS5, and with a new console comes a lot of new games. But even still on the PS4, there's a lot of releases to look forward to. My number one game would have to be Horizon Forbidden West. I love the original, and I mean, even though we haven't got anything but the original trailer, I'm already in love with this. The graphics look epic, and I'm really excited to see what Guerrilla Games can do to enhance the already amazing combat. Nier Replicant is about the only game in this video we have an actual date on, and it's coming up pretty soon. I haven't done a review on it yet, but oh man, Nier Automata was such a good game. It's easily in my top 10 now, just because of how incredible it is. Not only is it fun and engaging to play, but it makes so many interesting design choices that make it such a unique experience. And I've only heard the same about its predecessor, so I have really high hopes for it. Oh yeah, there's that Persona 5 spin-off coming out. I mean, it looks fine, though something on a new Persona game would be much appreciated. Although we don't know anything about them, both God of War Ragnarok and that Hogwarts game have so much amazing potential. While it didn't resonate as much with me as it did with others, I still really enjoyed God of War on the PS4, and I can really appreciate the care and effort put into it. It's a AAA game that actually felt more like a super high budget indie game. And I mean, a Harry Potter themed RPG is like a dream come true. I just really hope it's done well. Elden Ring would be nice to get some updates on. I know nothing about it, but it's from Software, so it has to be good, right? And finally, though we haven't got any guarantees, based on some reliable rumors, I can't wait for any news on a Ghost of Tsushima sequel that takes place in the second Mongol invasion of Japan. But if there's truly one thing I want more than anything else this year, it's any sort of trailer or big news on Deltarune Chapter 2. It seems like development is going well based off of Toby Fox's tweets, so I hope there's a little more info about it by the end of the year. And that's about it for my hopes and dreams for 2021. 2020 kinda sucked, and 2021 has a potential to be a saving grace, and man, I really hope it is. Now, before we go, let's take a look at my predictions from last year. To begin, I hoped for Breath of the Wild 2, or at least some info on it, which we got none of, but I was doubtful anyways. Then I pitched my Mario Kart idea, which disappointingly didn't happen, but we got that little remote car Mario Kart thing, so like 1% points maybe? About one of the only things I predicted correctly was Steve getting into Smash, which was just a wild hope. I never expected it to actually happen. I mean, it's still mind-boggling, and I'm just thinking about it now. Moving on, I talked about Pikmin 4 and a remaster of Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, which we got a Pikmin port and a new Paper Mario, but that doesn't really count. Lastly, I once again hoped for Odyssey 2 and an update to Switch Online. Odyssey 2, nope. And I really haven't used Switch Online lately, but based on how popular Animal Crossing was, I'm guessing it's improved a little, hopefully. But with that, this video comes to a close. It's very odd to think I'll probably be watching this in a year, hopefully reflecting on a good year, but who knows? We've just gotta wait to find out. Thank you all for watching and have a great 2021. See you later. Bye.